Community rise stronger. Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima, host of First Things First, weekday mornings, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580. And I'm inviting you to join us on Wednesday, January 7th, as we broadcast live from Perry's Joint on the one-year anniversary of this horrific and devastating fire. We're remembering those we lost, celebrating the heroes and sheroes who answered the call, and honoring the resilience of neighbors who are determined to rebuild together.
I've been a strong Black woman a long time, and I can't just break down now.
Hear the stories of survival, the voices of recovery, the spirit of community that the fire couldn't destroy, and yes, the angst of those who still do not know where they go from here.
Yeah, where am I gonna go?
At KBLA Talk 1580, we don't just cover the story, we're part of this community. And we've done our level best to hold those responsible for this fire accountable. And 1 year later, we're still standing together.
It is my hopes that Black people will rebuild those homes.
So join us live at Perry's Joint, 2051 Lincoln Avenue in Pasadena, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Wednesday, January 7th, as we commemorate the 1 year anniversary of the Altadena Eaton Canyon fire. Because some stories demand to be remembered.
This too shall pass.
This KBLA Talk 1580 Town Hall is sponsored by LA Fire Justice.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen.
KBLA Talk 1580. It's Moving Mountain Mondays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, our final Monday of 2025. Particularly honored and grateful that two of our regular contributing hosts are joining us, along with a very special guest. Diallo Brooks is an accomplished executive leader with over 25 years of expertise in nonprofit advocacy, strategic initiative development, and civic engagement. As the founder and principal strategist of Civic Vision Strategies, Diallo drives impactful change by helping organizations create innovative solutions to advance social justice, equity, and public policy reform. Atiba is former executive director of the National Black Caucus of State Legislators. He is a strategic alliance consultant and president of Party Politics US. He's worked as a TV contributor on BNC News, The Heat, In the Know with Mo, The Leslie Marshall Show, iHeartRadio GovExec, and 96.3 WHUR. Diallo and Atiba, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thanks, Jesse, for having us.
Thanks, Jesse.
Always a pleasure. Happy New Year, fellas. I want to introduce to both of you Dr. Tania Davis. We are live today from Homewood, Illinois. An amazing woman, doctor, PhD, who opened up recently a bookstore called Beyond the Book, 18063 Dixie Highway in Homewood, Illinois. We're going to be with her for the next 2 hours here at her bookstore, not only celebrating her accomplishment, but digging deeper into some of the issues of literacy and some of the challenges the current administration has provided for all of us when it comes to reading books. Tania Davis is an accomplished human resources and recruitment professional with a distinguished record of leadership in executive positions at top-tier organizations such as Harpo, The Oprah Winfrey Show, I Manage, Johnson Publishing Company, and Raise. An exceptional track record of driving operational excellence, Tania has successfully managed complex practices, standards, and regulations, not only for talent acquisition and HR, but also for multiple departments of large international corporations while managing day-to-day administration. Tania is a scholar as well as a leader, holding an MBA from Loyola University in Chicago and a PhD from Benedictine University's Center for Values-Driven Leadership. Her dissertation, titled The Influence of Organizational Culture on the Display of Servant Leadership, is a testament to her exceptional academic credentials. Tania, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for allowing us to have our show live at your wonderful bookstore. Tania, I want to introduce you to Atiba as well as to Diallo. We've got a series of questions and a conversation we are very much looking forward to having with you today. Initially, however, I do want to ask the question. Given your academic qualifications and your work in the corporate structure, why did you choose to focus on literacy, on a bookstore, on educating people beyond the book?
I think there's a strong intersection, right? And so not just having a bookstore of its own, but there's a lot of output from the bookstore itself, whether it's writing, whether it's literature, understanding different forms of literature, whether it's the illustration side of writing books, and then as well as podcasting. And I combine all of those efforts under one umbrella because I do see the intersection. And I think there's a strong need. I think with the current climate, there are so many things being taken away. And the impact of that is really harming what our kids are learning and not learning. And so I wanted to contribute to that in a thoughtful way, in a meaningful way, but also be more of a partner to the community, the schools, and to the other programs at large, so that we have more of a united approach around shoring up some of these gaps that we have, because the gaps are not improving, they're actually becoming worse. And so taking all this lovely corporate experience and using it, what I say for the good, I decided to take a leap of faith and go into a space that I'm familiar with, but also one where I think I can be impactful.
Mr. Brooks? Diallo?
Yes. So my work around civic vision strategies, and the reason I've kind of delved into this space, and Tipa knows this, and you know this as well. I've been in the social justice landscape probably all of my professional career. And as I've transitioned out of the U.S. Department of Education, the Schott Foundation for Public Education, having worked in the public education space for the last several years, I really wanted to utilize my expertise in the social justice space, in the education space, to really help organizations grow and develop their programmatic initiatives, and making sure that those programmatic initiatives are actually connected to community. A lot of my values is based on uplifting community and community conversations as we deal with public policy, as we deal with strategies to bring folks together. And so this is my life's work. I come from that work from my family and others. And, it's something that I wanted to continue to delve into to help close, like was said before, close gaps, but also build capacity so we can also thrive as communities and not just survive and get by.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Atiba, a question for Tania.
Yeah, hi, Tania. First off, thank you so much for what you're doing. I've been to Homewood, but it's been a long time. I'm here in Miami, Florida. And there's a bookstore here that I actually really enjoy going to called Books and Books. And, part of I think the thing about that bookstore here that I really enjoy is the community feel to it. And so, when you mentioned the things that you're doing in terms of where you are, and then when I watched and was reading about what you're doing, that part really moves me. But I'm also wondering, in a day and age where people aren't necessarily reading as much, they like to watch or watch podcasts, or like to listen to books on audio. What are you seeing and what are you feeling from the community as you've opened your store there at Homewood?
Yeah, that's good.
Tania, let me allow you to answer that when we come forward. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. We're broadcasting live from Beyond the Book in Homewood, Illinois, 18063 Dixie Highway. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textingterms.us. Texting enrolls you for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply or price stopped, opt out.
Hey man, how did the date go?
I had to cancel. I don't get paid until Friday.
You didn't know that you can get up to a $750 paycheck advance with the current app?
Where was that information yesterday?
All you have to do is download the app, see if you qualify. $750. Boom.
You think I should call her back?
Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
All right.
Need money before payday? Current has you covered. Set up an eligible direct deposit to see if you qualify for a paycheck advance of up to $750. Get ahead with Current. Text LIST to 323232 to sign up today. That's LIST to 323232. LIST to 323232. LIST to 323232.
Paycheck advance is offered by Fineco Advance LLC, a financial technology company, not an FDIC insured bank. Eligibility and available amounts may vary and are subject to change at any time. For full terms and conditions, visit current.com or call 1-888-851-3177 for more information.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to partner with the Empowerment Congress once again for their 34th annual summit. The summit's theme is From Vision to Action, a forum to unlock participatory democracy, and will feature a nonpartisan gubernatorial candidate forum focused on issues of importance to the African American community. The summit is the signature public policy-oriented observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy during the national 3-day holiday weekend that celebrates his life. This year's summit will be held on Saturday, January 17th, 2026 at the California Science Center in Exposition Park from 9 to 11 a.m. Admission is free, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. All major announced candidates for California governor for the Democratic and Republican Party nominations have been invited to participate in the candidate forum, which will be moderated by Tavis Smiley. An all-star panel of journalists will pose questions to the candidates, and the forum will be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580. This is going to be a big year for local, state, and national politics. The political pulse of 2026 beats on KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Polly drops the beat. Come on and talk with me.
I'm Jesse Jackson.
Listen to me.
1580. Our very special guest is Dr. Tania Davis. And just before we went to the break, Atiba had a question.
Yeah, so Tania, the question, if we could go back, is what led you to open a bookstore? And I know it's called Beyond the Book, so could you tell us also the theme in terms of what Beyond the Book is, but also at a time when people seem to be getting away more so from reading books and more so to like listening to podcasts or watching podcasts or podcasts or listening to books on audio.
No, that's fair. I've actually seen a nice blend of kind of both, not just podcasting itself, but getting back to the books. But what I see in the center of all of that is connection. I see people trying to form connection, whether it's through book clubs, or whether it's through events in the store, whether it's through general interest groups. And I think that people are longing to find some sort of positive connection that they're missing. So that's one. The beauty of that is we're able to wrap that around different literary initiatives. So whether it's a workshop I'm running for, a writing workshop for kids, working with the schools, so it's a collaboration, whether it's actually book clubs, there are so far I've engaged with 12 different book clubs and this is within one central area and different age groups. And the more I would say the tweens and 30s, they connect to reading differently as well. They like to have a quiet time where they all kind of sit in the same room and read different books. And so they're connecting differently as well. And so I think we have a great opportunity to find that connection aspect for folks and create space. And that space looks differently for different groups. And I'm hoping collectively I can do that and offer it in a way that has sustainability, but also has a strong alignment with the neighboring schools. I do work with a group of teachers I use as a focus group where I understand their curriculum, and I try to shore up the books here so that there is some sort of alignment of what they're teaching in their classrooms. And so when someone is buying a book here, there's some sort of relationship in that, right? And so that speaks to the collaboration. And with the younger generation, they're touching books through their form of book clubs, but also through podcasting. And I have a podcast studio. So I try to have an offering where not just reading a book itself, but having a book reading experience. Those are two different things. The experience itself has an extension with the bookstore. So I think there's a huge opportunity, and I think Chicago is a strong place for that. I've seen more bookstores open, community-based, community hubs that offer folks an opportunity to connect. And that's really what I'm seeing, to answer your question with one answer, is I'm seeing connection. People want to connect around topics. And typically people connect around food, right? And music. Well, and also around books. And I think we have a great opportunity to kind of bring some synergies there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Let me ask a quick question. I got the devil scared out of me this weekend watching one of these Jake Tapper shows. And he was talking about artificial intelligence and how so many young people.
I'm sorry. Can you hold for 1 minute, please?
Oh, absolutely.
There's someone that that's being asked to join the conversation.
Oh, hi. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
One of the customers.
Just a customer to walk in.
Hi, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We were just talking with Tania about the contribution that the bookstore represents to the community, and would like to hear and welcome your insights on how important the idea of reading and books are at this hour in American history and American development.
Yeah, thank you. I've been here before, new bookstore, and it just popped my head in, and Tania is very welcoming, and we were talking about homeschooling. We homeschooled all three of our kids until they got to high school, and I think it's really, really important to have public spaces, not private spaces, but public spaces that are open to the public where people can come in. I guess this is a private space, but very much with a public feel of opening it to spaces for exchange. For one of the things that's really important for us as homeschooling families is that there's a lot of pressure to get it right, since we're taking full responsibility for our kids' education. And so it's really helpful to connect with other families. And Tania's, we talked about ways that she's already doing that here.
Diallo, I as many times as you guest hosted on the show, I don't think we've ever really covered homeschooling. Diallo, your thoughts on homeschooling?
So you put me on the spot, Jesse, around homeschooling. I mean, I think in this country, we have to have a variety of ways of supporting and educating our young people. And, as parents, and I'm a parent as well, we have to make the best decision for our own children and how they're able to develop in this world. I mean, I'm a public school kid. I went to public school. All my kids went to public schools. It worked for them. There was some challenges within that environment. And I know friends that have had their kids homeschooled or gone to private schools or gone to other schools. What I like to focus in on is making sure that all communities have the access to high quality education that gives them the tools to be successful young people, but also become successful and productive adults in this world, and making sure that we invest in the structures that are necessary to make that happen.
Dr. Davis, did you want to respond to that?
Absolutely. And so one of the things that I'm working on, and with the homeschoolers and the Homeschooling Association, is to understand, what does that look like in terms of packet of learning, so that I can carry those same packets of learning per se, or what will complement the learning in the bookstore. So I see the bookstore as an extension of whatever learning is taking place, whether it's in school or homeschooling, but the education aspect of it the same, the high quality should be in place. And so that I'm always asking for feedback and checking in with the parents and the teachers to make sure I get it right, because being an extension of that, it's really understanding the need. And I think that's the most important aspect of it.
Dr. Davis, just before we go to further questioning, my producer was sharing with me, Atiba, that you have an experience with having attended a particularly amazing school in Washington, D.C., and it was producing so many successful people that the opportunity closed. Atiba?
Yeah, so I'm a high school graduate of Paul Lawrence Dunbar High School, first high school for African Americans after slavery. It was called M Street School before it became Dunbar. But thank you for putting that in, because the other side of it is that I went to 7 schools in 12 years, and my mom being an educator, whether or not it was us living overseas or being in the United States, she was always very active in making sure that not only did we have a book in our hand, but that we were in libraries and bookstores, et cetera, going to programs where there were plays about books. So I'm very fascinated about what it is that you're doing there in the community. And actually, as someone who's written a book, a novel, just in terms of like looking at and talking to people and seeing how we have changes in our society. And Jesse continues to say, American development and where we are in terms of American history. It feels as if we're at a place where we're not using logic as much as we used to, and we're not applying decision-making and analytical skills. And I think a lot of that has to do with when we went to Twitter with reading the news in 120 characters or less and thinking that we knew the whole story. I also would say I miss actually picking up a newspaper and getting ink on my fingers, because now we're just looking, we're looking at on our phones. But in terms of from the bookstore, what are you seeing in terms of community? I feel like in terms of the few months that I've been doing this with Jesse, this is the most people that I've seen on our show at one time. And I think that has a lot to do with you and what you're doing right there in the community in terms of engaging and having people there. There's a gentleman sitting behind you. I'm wondering what are his thoughts about the bookstore, as well as what brought him in the first time.
Well, I agree with you that Jesse is a lightning rod, but I'm also an avid reader, and I was just really impressed to see that we had a bookstore in the community, and a bookstore that represents us, that we can support, because we can only do so much within the experience of our own lives. But when we read, we can experience through our reading, through our perspective of reading, just an enormous amount of information. Mm-hmm. And I tell my kids that reading can allow you to experience the world. And so I think we need to read as much as possible. And as you said, it's becoming something that is not as well understood by our younger generation, because they have access to social media. So we're getting a lot of popcorn knowledge from social media that doesn't necessarily substantiate or verify information that has references and can be followed up on and verified again.
I like that you said that, because it's like we trust what we see very quickly, but we don't take the time to verify it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know that you have your children in the store. If you could call them over too, we're going to bring them on in just a moment. But Tania, even while he's doing that, I did want to raise this question with you, because Jake Tapper did scare the devil out of me this week on his program, and he talked about the AI takeover and the challenges of these supercomputers that are in our hands now as phones, where people can get a summary of a book or get a summary of a chapter almost instantaneously without taking the time that your guests and our guests have talked about. Tania, we have about 3 minutes before we come to a hard stop at the 30. And then, of course, we come back. We've got at least another hour and a half on the program. But I'd like your thoughts about the challenges that artificial intelligence for many of the people that you're trying to attract are creating in this space.
And Jesse and Tania, if I could also add in also that people will be writing books using AI.
So that's a concern of mine as well. And so, I do worry about the art of writing. There's something about the beauty of words. AI cannot replicate the beauty of words and the synergy and combination of words and description of a sunset or description of walking outside and the smell of the air. And so one of the things that I have in programming is around writing workshops so that we can continue, sparking that interest in the younger generation. Who are our next authors? I'm concerned that, if that's left to AI, we'll have robotics in writing and not the emotion and passion and feeling emotion. There is something about reading a book where it kind of takes you in another place. And so I will run summer boot camps for kids, and I'm running poetry slams. There's one coming up in January, and I'm working with the junior high school for a February and March poetry slam. And I think it's important, one, to understand what is the art of writing outside of AI, outside of computers. And I do worry that the art itself, because we're leaning so much on technology, that we will miss a large part of our history around the architecture of writing itself. And so it is one that has me really concerned. And with the programming, I'm trying to create at least a space for people to come in and learn as well as participate. I have what's called the quiet zone, where if someone's working on a book, they come in, I play nice music, I set the tone, the atmosphere, but it's really to get people to come in and write. And if they've been thinking about a book or started a book, it's kind of to spark that interest back in them to get in and write and kind of coach people, to and through that with other thought leaders in this space.
Tania, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. We're at Beyond the Book in Homewood, Illinois. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams says more than 25,000 illegal guns have been taken off of city streets since he took office.
Getting thousands of guns off the streets has helped drive a 55% decrease in shootings.
Adams and NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch say shootings have hit record lows for 12 straight months. The Trump administration is reportedly investigating major U.S. companies over their diversity programs. Wall Street Journal reports Google and Verizon are among firms facing Justice Department probes as the administration moves to eliminate DEI efforts across government and the private sector. And Black pro boxer Anthony Joshua was reportedly involved in a car crash in Nigeria that killed 2 people. Authorities say Joshua suffered minor injuries and was treated at a hospital. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Some good news in Sherman Oaks on the 101 northbound, right before you get to Sepulveda Boulevard. Got that crash cleared from the 2 right lanes. Now on the 101 southbound, right at Woodman Avenue, a new accident reportedly over on the right shoulder. In Diamond Bar 57 North, right at the 60 East, they're trying to clear a new accident there. And in Anaheim Hills, on the 91 West, right at the 241, they're holding lanes, doing a break, trying to fill some potholes.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Clippers coach Ty Lue did something Sunday night that may not have ever been done before in the NBA, or at least in the last 50 or 60 years. For Sunday's game against Detroit at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, Lue's starting lineup features 5 players over the age of 30. Nicholas Batum and Brook Lopez are the oldest at age 37. James Harden is 36. Kawhi Leonard is 34. Chris Dunn is 31. In this day and age of youthful players around the NBA, a senior lineup such as that is very rare. The decision by Lue to go with experience paid off. The Clippers beat Detroit 112-99 to win their 4th straight. The old guys have a chance to catch up on their rest. The Clippers' next game is Thursday night at home against Utah. Kawhi's career-high 55 points Sunday tied Harden for the Clippers' single-game franchise record. Harden dropped 55 at Charlotte on November 22nd. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
1 year ago, flames tore through Altadena and Eaton Canyon, changing lives forever. From the ashes, can a beloved community rise stronger? Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima, host of First Things First, weekday mornings, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580. And I'm inviting you to join us on Wednesday, January 7th, as we broadcast live from Perry's Joint on the 1-year anniversary of this horrific and devastating fire. We're remembering those we lost, celebrating the heroes and sheroes who answered the call, and honoring the resilience of neighbors who are determined to rebuild together.
I've been a strong Black woman a long time, and I can't just break down now.
Hear the stories of survival, the voices of recovery, the spirit of community that the fire couldn't destroy, and yes, the angst of those who still do not know where they go from here.
Yeah, where am I gonna go?
At KBLA Talk 1580, we don't just cover the story, we're part of this community. And we've done our level best to hold those responsible for this fire accountable. And 1 year later, we're still standing together.
It is my hopes that Black people will rebuild those homes.
So join us live at Perry's Joint, 2051 Lincoln Avenue in Pasadena, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Wednesday, January 7th, as we commemorate the 1-year anniversary of the Altadena Eaton Canyon fire. Because some stories demand to be remembered.
This too shall pass.
This KBLA Talk 1580 Town Hall is sponsored by LA Fire Justice.
JP Morgan Chase offers tips for the local business owners in 2025. Small business landscape is ever changing, and the Los Angeles market is no exception. A startup or legacy business, revisiting your mission statement and recalibrating offerings can renew opportunities for growth and innovations. Programs like Chase for Business Coaching for Impact gives entrepreneurs access to expert guidance, helping you streamline operations, strategize your growth, and navigate complex challenges. Businesses with a clear sense of purpose can navigate any challenge effectively, but also build stronger customer loyalty. Visit chase.com/coaching for impact for more information. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom? She started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our regular contributing hosts, Diallo Brooks and Atiba, are joining me with a very, very special guest. Dr. Tania Davis is an accomplished human resources and recruitment professional with a distinguished record of leadership in executive positions at top-tier organizations such as Harpo Productions, The Oprah Winfrey Show, I Manage, Johnson Publishing Company, and Raise. With an exceptional track record of driving operational excellence, Tania has successfully managed complex practices, standards, and regulations not only for talented acquisition and HR, but also for multiple departments of large international corporations while managing day-to-day administrative activities. Furthermore, she is recognized as a community leader who demonstrates a particular care and interest in mentoring the next generation of leaders and volunteers. Her efforts were acknowledged by the United States Senate as she received congressional recognition for inspiring the world's future leaders. And as an entrepreneur, she is the owner of Beyond the Book. I'm broadcasting live today at 18063 Dixie Highway in Homewood, Illinois. And our very special guest is Dr. Tania Davis. Dr. Davis, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you. And I'm joined with a guest of the bookstore.
Oh, I'm so particular. Can you give me our guest's name, please?
Hello, my name is Aaron Wilson Alstrom. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Aaron, I'm so glad that you're with us today. I think I'm going to turn the next question over to Diallo.
Sure. Dr. Davis, I'm going to respect your your education level. I wanted to ask you, I'm particularly excited about the community feel of your bookstore. And we talked a little bit before about kind of AI moving into spaces, but the need to have, particularly post-COVID, this community-based feel of a place that folks can not only just read books, but also gather as a part of a social construct. Talk a little bit more about why that's an important part of your design for your store.
I think we're in such a polarized state that we're learning how to disconnect easily. And, we're not designed for that. And I think Homewood Flossmoor is a prime example of community that does it well. And I see the bookstore as an extension of that and as a hub to continue that thread of community connection, collaboration, and learning. Quite frankly, it's a very diverse community like others around the Chicagoland area. And I think there's something powerful when you can learn from each other and create space to learn and to grow, right? And so the extension of just the book, there's also different aspects of that. So whether it's something in an art form, or whether it's illustration, or whether it's poetry slams, whether it's workshops, or whether it's working with the homeschoolers, or whether it's creating space for the homeschoolers, what I am finding in my observation is that there's an aspect of connection that for some they have lost and they're trying to find that again, right? And have a reason for it. I'll share a really quick example. We had the first book gathering for the bookstore, and there were over 45 people that showed up, and half the people in the room didn't know each other. There were 3 individuals that just relocated, one from Boston, one from New York, and one that actually moved from the city to the suburbs, and they formed a connection. And the following week, they were having coffee with someone new. And they were more excited about that than the actual conversation of the book, even though everybody gathered for the book. And so that's just one of many examples. And, I think that this is something that we really need to get right. And if we can align that with something that is very critical in society today, and that's reading and writing, the art form itself, I think that just makes a stronger community.
Mr. Wilson, why don't we bring you into the conversation? Your thoughts on that question raised by Diallo?
Yeah, I think I lived in a co-housing community in Michigan for 10 years with my wife and my kids before we moved here. And we designed or had conversations about the policy. Everybody who was a member of that community was part of shaping the policies of the community. And it was an example of doing democracy. And there's a way in which we talk about living in a democracy, but we don't practice that. There's a way in which we talk about living in a society. We don't practice society. We don't practice social conversation. So it was when I was in here talking with Dr. Davis before they held that event. Tania?
Yeah, Tania's fine. Yes.
It was exciting because she wasn't sure who was going to show up. And there's power in hosting a conversation and not being sure who's going to show up and not knowing who's going to be sitting next to you. And then having a conversation together. We've very much through social media lost that art and that skill of having conversations, of hearing different perspectives, of talking with nuance as opposed to slamming other people and clapping back and all of that stuff. So I think what is happening here is powerful and needed.
Atiba?
There's so much to unpack. I mean, Diallo has talked about justice, and we've talked about homeschooling, we're talking about community. I'm going to go back and just make it a little bit more personal as a novelist, as someone who's written their first book. How does someone get their book into your bookstore? How do you identify what you want to offer to your readers? And do your readers often come to you and tell you maybe some of the things that they'd like to see in the bookstore?
Both, yes. And so I take it very personally. Everyone that presents their form of writing, I read through the books. I want to be intentional, but I also want to be responsible. And I'm very concerned about content today and the writing that goes into the books. I've written 2 books myself, and I'm an award-winning author. And so one, I know the practice and the rigor that goes into writing a book, but I also know the challenges and struggles to launch that book out. So one, I create space for new authors. I have an entire bookcase just for local authors, and I also give them space for book signings. I host their book signings as well. So one, I encourage it. I create space for it. And then also I provide feedback, working with the publishers. I've seen all sides of publishing now, and I'm able to offer feedback and insight into how publishers will look at their work. And if there's an opportunity to tweak it, I provide that candor as well. I do think it's important when creating space and cultivating the next generation of writers, or even those that have been writing, to pass that on. So I'm creating these different hubs where current authors are able to also partner and mentor up and coming authors. But I think content is very important. I've seen some content extremely brilliant, and then, I've seen, honestly, AI generated as well. And I think that we have an opportunity to hone in on the authenticity of the writing, but also the holistic aspect of writing techniques itself.
I'm particularly proud of Beyond the Book here in Homewood, Illinois. But I also want to indicate that in Los Angeles, where we're broadcasting live, the last bookstore, Skylights Books, Chevalier's Books, Book Soup, the Rip Boat Ice, and the Reparations Club are also bookstores, Tania, that are looking at this kind of model as interactive, connecting them to schools, connecting them to communities, and not just a room filled with books and shelves with books, but actually an enjoyable experience.
Yes. Yeah, and I mix in both, right? So you'll see top titles that are in the top 50, but I also mix it in with new authors, up and coming authors. And so if someone is accustomed to reading a penny, I might partner with another author that has somewhat stylistic the same, so they're introduced to a new author as well. And so I think that's the beauty of curating the books the way that I have, is that it highlights, yes, the traditional, but it also brings in new. And I follow the analytics around that, and I look for patterns of reading behavior as well. I think there's some insightfulness around that. And then, in working with the younger generation, I call them, they're writing fantasy. So you have all these different dynamics of readers.
Tania, let me just slow you down for 1 second. We'll be right back. Tania is going to be with us. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to KBLA Talk 1580, the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest, Dr. Tania Davis. More when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach? Transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal? Prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
If you've been diagnosed with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, this is what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Imagine being a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy. With Tremfya, clearer skin is possible. In clinical trials, at least 70% of patients saw at least 90% clearer skin at 16 weeks. Results may vary. Tremfya is also indicated for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Call 1-800-526-7736 or visit tremfya.com.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project. Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have? You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail, because freedom should be free. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're in Homewood, Illinois today at Beyond the Book with Dr. Tania Davis. Dr. Davis, I know that we're going to be losing Mr. Wilson in a moment. Mr. Wilson is an educator. He's a teacher. He's also one of the guests that shops here at your bookstore. I wanted to ask Mr. Wilson, one, his thoughts on the current state of education in the nation, but also safe spaces for his own children and students to be able to work. I certainly feel that kind of comfort here at Beyond the Book. Mr. Wilson?
Thanks for the question. State of education. Wow, we could do a whole show on that. My sense is that kids are really hurting since COVID. That was an interruption. It was an interruption in terms of the kind of space that we've been talking about, not just of having information go into one's brain, but doing that in a social space. We learn a lot from one another. We learn a lot through relationships, and that really impacted relationships. And we've come back since then. And I think that COVID accelerated some of the digital divide that is happening. And I think that continues in schools. And I think when I was a teacher for 10 years in the Detroit area. And my own perspective was that the most important thing I was doing as a teacher is creating a safe place where kids could bring all of who they were and to share that in a space, feel a sense of belonging, and to interact with one another and to build ideas together, to build perspective together. So I think education, that's the best that education can do. It's the best that sort of these community spaces that's happened, like what's happening here in the bookstore, the best of what that can do as well.
Atiba?
I'm looking, this is a great shot that we have here with the background of people in the store. And then you also talked about book clubs, and now we're talking about education. It's like we're just like talking about all these things, and I'm like getting excited. Like, wait, it's too much. but it's not like an overload. I thought it was like even appropriate when you were talking about COVID and pre-COVID, because some of the conversations now that I've been having with people is, and I'll take myself personally, is that it's taken me a while to really reinsert myself back into doing social stuff, because during COVID we became so much more like, hey, we're home. I don't necessarily want to be out there. I might get sick. This, in terms of how you're building community here, and how you're identifying things to attract people. Again, are there things that you're hearing from the community about what they're telling you that they would like to see that's been helpful too in terms of how you're attracting the community and getting them more engaged? And I say this because we also have seen large bookstores over the years come in and take the smaller bookstores, the smaller community bookstores that were there out. And I think Jesse you did a great job of talking about some of the stores that are in LA. And I think that that's what we have all over the country. I also want to add to, are you connected or talking to other communities or other bookstores and other communities, or are they talking to you? And how can we connect you all if that's not happening, so that we get back to what it is that you all are offering there in Homewood?
Absolutely. Well, again, I utilize the focus groups as a feed of information, which is extremely critical. I also run, out of the output of that, I run a chess club for kids. Some of the parents were saying that that middle age group, there really isn't a strong hub for them. They get it in the high school, but not in the earlier stages, and that's really when they need to start. So I started a chess club. We're 8 weeks in, and there are 18 kids that attend faithfully, and the parents are fully participants. But also what I noticed, back to community and connection, these kids are forming their own community, right, where they feel they fit in. And I think kids right now want to fit in somewhere, and they want to feel that they have some sort of hub around them where is their peers, their parents, is more about feeling supported, right? And so I listen in and I ask for feedback consistently with the folks that come through the doors. And I think that's very important as I continue to build this, because it's a build with the community, right? Which is very important. And as it relates to other bookstores, before I even started this venture, stepping out from the corporate, I visited over 50 bookstores, and I conducted a SWOT analysis of each bookstore. And I did not want to build just a bookstore. I think it's really important in building a business aspect of it, so it has longevity. It has the tentacles that touches the schools and different events and aspects of the community, is to understand what does that community need. So yes, I work closely with not just local bookstores, but also bookstores in other states as well, that are also looking at how to reinvent where they are. And I didn't want to just have a bookstore. And so what you're hearing is more of an experience around the reading, but also I'm really trying to understand the behavior so that I can be a support system to the schools. I can be a support systems to provide support systems to other community groups. So it's not just a bookstore in itself, if that makes sense.
A lot of sense. I mean, and I grew up with a mother who opened a community center on a block where I grew up in Washington, D.C. She used to always say that the world is bigger than Farragut Street. And so it was not only that she was attracting people who were coming from other places, but it was that she had a summer camp that she actually called Camp on the Go, to take these kids to other places. And the guest who was on before, the gentleman who talked about opening a book and how it opens up your whole world. It feels as if today, in this day and time where we're still trying to get hopefully back to a place of civil discourse, that part of what's missing is our ability to imagine, our ability to see ourselves in other places. I'm like a kid in a candy store right now, just listening, and I look forward to coming to Homewood to your store, and also telling other people about this, because I do believe that regardless of all the division and things that are going on in the country right now, part of it is that we're just not getting to know each other. And we get so...
Can I just throw in, I get really excited about this. I'm so sorry to cut you off, but I got to throw this in. I had 2 books side by side, both romance. And one was one, and then the other was Kennedy Ryan. And the particular customer loves romance. And she had a kind of big, huge question mark about Kennedy Ryan. And I said, oh, if you love romance, you'll love this book. And she was like, I don't know. And I said, no, just try it. And she loved the book. It transcended, right, her perception by visually what she saw, but more of the content itself. Mm-hmm. And that is what I want to create. That is what I want to create. And I didn't mean to jump in there, but
please do.
No, it's absolutely fabulous. I just want to add this. I am in Atiba Diallo. I am in the podcast studio of Beyond the Book. I mean, we are not in our traditional location. And I tilted the camera to kind of show you what Tania's insights have done. There's no Call of Duty here. There's no big screen television sets and games for children to play. Tania is focusing our children's imaginations on the classics and the culture of reading and thinking and being able to discern from these processes. And the environment that she's created is nothing less than spectacular. As a parent, I would feel very safe leaving my children right here.
And I'll add this in, as a kid, I lived in West Africa, no television for 2 years. I read over 300 books in a year. And it was because we didn't have television. So we had to create our own imagination. So my fascination with books started a very long time ago.
I'm particularly impressed. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is our last Monday in 2025. We have an extended 2-hour program here at Beyond the Book in Homewood, Illinois. I want to thank Atiba and Diallo for joining us in the first hour, and I can't wait for the new year with both of you gentlemen as we prepare to come forward. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thanks.
Tania, I'll be back with Tania Davis more when we come forward on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Happy New Year, everyone. Our final 2 shows of 2025.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. A man will spend years in prison for a hate crime attack in Kent, Washington. Prosecutors say Aiden Hernandez Mayoral pleaded guilty after making racist remarks and stabbing a black woman on a Metro bus. She survived because she was wearing a puffy jacket. Sentencing is set for March. Black Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown and a coalition of attorneys general have secured a court order blocking the Trump administration from imposing illegal conditions on FEMA grants. The lawsuit argues the administration was unlawfully interfering with emergency